Well, good morning, my friend. Welcome to the Pastor's Podcast on a cold day here in Oklahoma. And had a cold one yesterday. It was very cold, but God was still good. People got saved. People got baptized. The devil fought. When the devil fights, that's always a good day. Had a great day yesterday morning, last night, watching what God did inside the church. And I'm always excited to see what the Lord's doing. When I see the devil fighting, I know that God is doing something great, and I'm looking forward. Probably the best month we've ever had in our church this past January. When it comes to Januaries, and I'm always excited to see what God's doing. To God be the glory, what He's doing. I always rejoice with people who are doing a wonderful job. I saw one of our brothers, Brother Rodriguez. There in the Indiana area, looked like he had a great day yesterday, and I rejoice with him and what he's doing there. Always enjoy. And preachers, please, when God's doing something great in your heart, put it out there in social media. Let the Pharisees stew a little bit. Maybe it'll motivate some of these independent Baptists to get out and do something. And that's what we need. We need to see that we are doing something for the Lord. It would be an encouragement to many others to say, hey, we're not the only ones out here contending for the faith. And I'd encourage you to do that. That'd be an encouragement to a lot of people if every church just put out, man, God's doing this. And God's now be honest about it, but tell about what God's doing. We need to see that this whole world is in a bad shape, and we need to see that God is still on the throne. Well, my friend, I want to talk to you today about footprints of faith. The scripture says in Hebrews 11:1, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. When you see footprints, you can be sure that those footprints mean that someone whose feet, those footprints represent someone whose feet have been at that place. Now, when I read Hebrews 11, I find footprints of faith. Faith always leaves a footprint so that others can walk the same path and be encouraged and challenged to live by faith. If I were to try to understand what faith is, I would go to Hebrews 11. And I'd study that chapter to see what I need to do to live by faith. Now, throughout my life, I've always been challenged by the faith of others. I was challenged as a young man by the faith of my parents. I was challenged as a young preacher by the faith of my pastor, Dr. Jack Hiles. I have been challenged throughout my life by the faith of great men. I think of Brother Jim Clemenson, a good friend of mine now in heaven. His faith challenged me. I think of Dr. Lee Robertson. His faith challenged me. You see, I've been challenged throughout my life by the faith of great men. And I read the scriptures, and my faith is continually challenged. Now, what do these people? When I look at those who challenged my faith and compared their impact to those in Hebrews 11, I see footprints of faith that they left behind for us to follow. Now, I want to share these footprints of faith. First, hope is the first footprint of faith. Every person who has lived by faith had a hope of something happening. Now, you cannot live by faith if you don't have a hope that something's going to happen in our life, in our church. If you don't have the hope that God can do something great, hey, you're not living by faith. Trust is the second footprint of faith. Belief in God's ability to come through is critical to what faith is going to do. Do you understand? The belief in God's ability to come through is what caused you to trust God, when reality says you're a fool. Now, I'd rather look like a fool and trust God by faith than to be a fool and not trust God and live in doubt. Every person who's lived by faith had a great trust in God and His promises to always care for His own and honor their faith. Now, can I say fear is the third footprint of faith? What fear does, faith produce. What fear does faith produce? Okay, so follow me very carefully. So faith does produce a fear, the fear that you'll not please God. That's what it produces. It's not a fear of man. It's a fear of disappointing God through a lack of faith. Now, when you have faith, you're going to have fear, but you ought to have a fear that you're going to disappoint God. A person who lives of faith will have a great fear in their heart that one misstep will ruin what God is doing through their life. Now, the fourth footprint of faith is obedience. Faith doesn't have to see the other side of obeying God. It just has to trust that God knows where he is leading. If you're not willing to obey God in every aspect of your life, you'll struggle to live by faith. It takes obedience to what God tells you to do to live by faith. Now, any trace of disobedience in your life is a trace of self-trust and not a faith in God. The fifth footprint of faith is action. Any person who has lived by faith has always acted upon their faith. You see, to say you're living by faith and not believe God, that's a lie. Listen to me. Faith always pushes God's people into action. You cannot live a life of faith and enjoy the fruit of faith if you are sitting and doing nothing. The life of faith is always evidenced by the action that those who stepped out by faith did. Now, the sixth footprint of faith is vision. Those who live by faith have a great vision that others cannot see. If you don't desire to see the miraculous, you'll never walk the life of faith. Faith always has a vision greater than your capability, but to take action on that vision is what lets you see the miraculous in your life. Now, my friend, are the footprints of faith in your life? Can people see that? Can people look at your life? Can they see a hope? Do they see trust? Do they see that there's a fear that you're going to disappoint God? Is there an obedience? Is there action? Hey, do you have a vision for God to do something? Oh, my friend, I'm telling you right now, what happens, you get that footprint of faith, and all of a sudden things start happening. I'll give you an illustration. We're just finishing up our new auditorium, and I already got a vision for something else for God to do because I see what's happening here. Do you understand? Faith always produces a vision for something greater, and you've got to do it, my friend. Oh, my friend, how we need people of faith today. Step out by faith, do something great. I'm telling you, when we step out by faith, God can do something mighty if we'll learn to live by faith. Well, my friend, I hope this is a challenge to you today. Now, let's remember today, be good to everyone. Everyone's having a tough time. Have a great Monday, my friend.